Minute introduction. A large teleprompter, as you can see, is directly in front of the stage to display the countdown for you speaking tonight. When your time expires, your microphone will possibly be muted or there will be stop signs to inform you to stop. Introducing the candidates. First to the stage is Dr. Everett Blair. Peter Bourne. Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark. Dr. Jeffrey Fauntleroy Sr. Dr. Heavenly Kind. Dr. Joe Lester. Mr. Ron McKenzie. And Mr. Simeon Numsley. And we did have a few candidates that said they're going to be late, so they'll be joining us periodically throughout the forum. We will now all candidates. Candidates, please keep your responses within the time frame shown on the teleprompter as we begin with question number 1, beginning with Dr. Everett Blair. Let's talk about federal impact on Georgia. The shutdown had major ripple effects on Georgia families, state agencies, and local governments. As a member of Congress, what steps would you take to protect our state from similar disruptions, and what changes would you push for in federal budgeting process to prevent this from happening again?
Thank you for the question. Just a point of clarification. Do you want us to do the opening statements now?
My extreme apologies. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I apologize, and the script is right in front of me. We're going to start with our opening statements first. We can begin with Dr. Everett Blair.
Thank you again. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It's an honor to be here with the 13th Federation and at New Birth, and I just wanted to share my story. This is a moment of crisis, and I'm running for the 13th Congressional District because we need leaders who are well equipped to deal with crisis. My name is Dr. Everett Blair, and I am not new to leading amid incredibly unprecedented times. You may remember me as the former chairman of the Gwinnett County School Board, where when elected, I was the youngest ever and first African American elected to the largest and most diverse school system in this state at the age of 26. At 28, I led our county during the pandemic. And I led our county through numerous challenges, including budget reauthorization and reaccreditation. And this is my home. Gwinnett County, Newton County, Rockdale County, all parts of this community, Henry Clayton as well, deserve a leadership and a leader who will listen and fight, but also one who knows how we can deliver what we deserve in this moment. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I look forward to earning your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next introduction. Yes, you can do it. Next we'll have Mr. Peter Bourne.
Good evening. My name is Peter Bourne. I'm originally from New York City. At the age of 20 years old, I joined the United States Navy, where I served 20 years honorably. Not only am I a veteran, my wife is a veteran, and my daughter is currently serving active duty right now as we speak, continuing our family tradition of service to this great nation. When I retired in 2014, we moved to Georgia and we laid down roots here. We created a business called the Born Alliance Group, where we service the community, giving financial advice as well as tax planning. So I'm fully aware what needs to happen in the state of Georgia. I'm truly honored to be here tonight. Thank you very much.
Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Jasmine Clark, and I have the honor of serving in Georgia's House District 108, which sits right in the 13th Congressional District. I've been in office since 2018, and since I've been in office, I have been a science voice for Georgia. I'm a mom, I'm a science professor, and I'm born and raised right here in the state of Georgia. And the reason why I call myself the science voice for Georgia is because I bring that science perspective from my background in microbiology. I bring that to Georgia, and I want to take it up to Washington, D.C. Right now, we are seeing unprecedented attacks on our federal workers, on public health, on research, especially cancer research, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have experience in all of those fields, and that's the experience and perspectives that I think is missing right now up in Washington, D.C. as we fight for the people. Thank you.
Dr. Jeffrey Fauntleroy.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Jeff Fauntleroy Sr., and I've devoted my entire life to public service. First, as a husband of 34 years, as a father, as a papa, as a retired law enforcement officer, as a pastor, as a former business owner, and now community partnership consultant. I'm running for the 13th Congressional District because you deserve someone who's going to listen, lead, and devote their time, not just in Washington, but throughout District 13. When the lights are off and the cameras are off, I will make myself accessible. I will be in your community as I've been since I've been to Georgia. I will be with you, meeting the needs and solving the problems of District 13. I look forward to your questions, and I hope to give some insight. Thank you very much.
Dr. Heavenly County.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Newburgh Christian and Catholic Church and the Congressional 13th District Women. I'm Dr. Heavenly Combs. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a double HBCU graduate. And I'm a reality TV star. I didn't come from power or fame. In fact, I came from meager beginnings, on public assistance. But my mother always taught me that I could do and be anything I wanted to be. And with hard work, I could make that happen. And I did. I graduated with honors. I moved here to the Georgia 13th District over 25 years ago and opened my first practice, and I stayed here. I'm excited about being here, and I think that people are tired of politics as usual. They're looking for someone bold, unapologetic, unafraid to speak up and speak out for our people.
Dr. Joe Lester.
Good evening. My name is Joe Lester. Grew up on a little farm down in Hawkinsville, Georgia, in an area called Blue Springs. I'm a graduate of Fort Valley State University, a graduate of Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. I've had the opportunity to treat all kinds of folks over the last 40 years. I started my first dental practice at 26 years old, and I've been on the ground working ever since. I've worked for the Department of Juvenile Justice for about 17 years. I worked for the Department of Correction for about 11 years. All I've done is service. Service is my background. I'm running tonight so I can get an upgrade. I'm actually not giving an upgrade on my position of service to go to Congress and fight for the people of the 13th District. In the 13th District, right now, we have a lot of issues. And the biggest issue is who is going to go and fight for the people who live here. This campaign is not about who raised the most money. This campaign is not about who got the biggest platform. It has who has the biggest heart.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ron McKenzie.
Hi everybody, I'm Ron McKenzie. I am not a career politician, but I am the son of working class parents, and I've spent most of my adult life in the private sector, helping businesses stay open during the pandemic, and as a lawyer, helping companies create cultures of accountability. I'm running this race because there is so much at stake in this country right now. Our economy is in tatters. 1.1 million people have been laid off this year alone. Our national debt is $37 trillion. Costs are out of control. Everything from healthcare to childcare to housing to groceries to clothing, you name it, it's more expensive now than it was 4 years ago. At the same time, we have millions and millions of Americans who are relying on short-term financing like Klarna and Affirm to pay for everyday goods. And we have credit card debt has reached $1.2 trillion, the highest it's been in our nation's history. And so there's so much at stake, and people are asking for help and they're asking for relief. And I think we need real leaders in Congress who will be focused on the people once again.
10:13 a.m. My mother died of breast cancer right in front of me. I don't tell you that for sympathy. I don't tell you that for empathy. I tell you because I know what it feels like to lose a woman, a strong woman, and to have a number in your phone that will never ring again. Currently, 300,000 women are missing in the nation due to human trafficking. That is 300,000 mothers, 300,000 sisters, 300,000 daughters have numbers in their phone that will never ring again. This campaign has authored House Resolution 1255 asking for a human trafficking task force agency to be created and deployed at all port of entries ahead of the 2026 World Cup. We have a 92-page report from the Department of Justice saying that the private prison systems are an absolute catastrophe and detriment to humans here in the state of Georgia. In this 92-page report, they literally said that they have women being shoved with hot sauce bottles inside of them. And we need to stand up and we need to fight for these women, and we need to continue to sue the private prison systems for everything that they're doing.
And welcome to the stage for their one-minute introduction, Mr. Pierre Whiteley.
Thank you. First of all, apologies for running late. That I go down south ATL 285 traffic, so we know how it goes. First off, I want to thank Pastor Bryant and the church for inviting me and inviting all of us to attend. Civic participation is so important. 2026 is a critical, pivotal year. It is a time for all of us to come together, move forward. I think we all know that this time is now for a generational leadership. It's time for a new voice. And what you will hear today, though I want to commend everyone on this stage for their leadership and their commitment to serve, you will find out that I am the only one on this.
Ripple effects on Georgia, families, state agencies, and local governments. As a member of Congress, what steps would you take to protect our state from similar disruptions? And what changes would you push for in the federal budgeting process to prevent this from happening again? Starting with Dr. Everton Blair.
Thank you for the question again, and some time to think about the answer. This shutdown has had very, very perilous impacts on many of our working families. And we should have done everything on the front end to make sure that we weren't in this position. But your member of Congress also should make sure that the federally mandated funds don't get used as bargaining chips so that people starve or that children go hungry or that people don't have health care. And so I would like to make sure that SNAP, WIC, Medicaid, Medicare, and Section 8 vouchers continue to go out even amidst a shutdown. And when we get back to Congress, we should put guardrails in place so that appropriations exist so that we don't have to have emergency relief during the shutdown. If those things can just continue as they should. I also think it's important to just notice and wonder which politicians are not doing the job on the inside when the shutdown happens. We should have been in DC nonstop negotiating to make sure that the government could reopen. And when it reopens, as it has now, we now have the onus on us to fight strongly and fervently to make sure that any time that the government does shut down again, which was for a good reason, to make sure that we had our health care, that we have the systems in place to make sure that everyone in our community is still taken care of.
Thank you. Peter Bourne.
A shutdown of government is a failure of both parties. There is no excuse for the government to shut down. They must do their jobs. We cannot allow the government to use the American people as leverage for whatever reason whatsoever. It's a complete failure, regardless of what happens. Now, when it comes to making sure that this doesn't happen again, they must stay open and continue to speak to one another. We have to have bipartisan agreement. A shutdown should not even be an option. I would never shut down the government. I would never vote for that. That is ridiculous and it's appalling. Our government officials shut down the government and still collect a paycheck. While people are out here losing money, losing opportunities, this is not something that could be allowed or even suggested. So they had 13 to 15 opportunities to vote to open up the government. Time and time and time again, they voted not to open up the government. We gotta make sure we hold our politicians accountable for these failures. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark.
Yeah, so we just went through 43 days of ridiculousness. When the government shuts down, first of all, you have these federal workers who had nothing to do with anything. They became political pawns. And then when that wasn't enough, Republicans in Congress decided, hey, I know what we can do. We can go after people's food on their table. And that's what we can do to move the needle so that Democrats will agree that millions of Americans, including millions of Georgians, will not be able to have access to affordable health care. Like, that is what was on the table. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that we keep getting in this position because we have actually not, as a nation, passed a full budget. We keep pitter-pattering our way through things. We pass these continuing resolutions every couple of months, and then basically it sets us up for a showdown such as this every couple of months. We might be right back in this same situation on February 1st of 2026 because that's as far as the current continuing resolution goes. And so I think it's very important that as a person in Congress, we make it a priority to actually pass a budget so that we do not continue to find ourselves in this situation.
Thank you.
Dr. Jeffrey Fauntleroy, Sr.
Thank you. One of the things that I've learned over my career is the importance of public-private partnerships. I believe that the first thing we need to do is ensure that members and citizens of District 13 have the appropriate things that they need because this will happen again. We have to strengthen our public-private partnerships, find out where the needs are, find out how we can solve those needs, solve those problems, and meet those needs. Ensure that the members of District 13 have what they need if in fact this happens again. The second thing we need to do to avoid the shutdown is we've got to get people out to vote. The reason we're in this situation is because many of us didn't come out and vote. And then some of us, we just sat back, and then some of us, unfortunately, voted for the wrong person. So we've got to get people out. And the only way we're going to get people out is we got to let them know the importance of the vote, why you need to vote, how it affects you. And then we can start working on, instead of putting a Band-Aid on this situation, I believe we need universal health care.
All right, as we move on to the next question.
Can I answer that question as well? Is it possible?
We have actually an order. We have an
Okay.
order, yes. As I move on to the next question, the second half, we'll be talking about supporting small businesses. Georgia has more than 1.2 million small business owners who keep our economy moving. What specific federal policies would you champion to support small businesses, and how would you ensure that underserved entrepreneurs, including minority women and rural business owners, receive those resources?
Dr. Heavenly Times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've been a small business owner for over 25 years right here in this district, working hard. So I know firsthand on how to start a business from scratch. I think it's necessary to understand that there is a lot of red tape that's there unnecessarily. I know that Black women lead in entrepreneurship and education, but yet we get the least amount of loans, federal loans. The first thing I would do is extend federal loans. I also feel like that small businesses are the heartbeat of our community, so I would give tax credits to people that hire people in the community as well. It's going to take a while for us to get out of the problems that we have going on with small businesses, but I think the first step is making sure that we have the federal aid. I think that we need to have the small business loans available, and we have to know how to understand how to run small businesses, so we need the education there, and that's my part there. Small businesses and healthcare is what I do. I think that everybody needs to make sure that they support small businesses, especially Black businesses in our community. And I think that creating jobs, which I have done over 25 years, is the key for a vibrant community.
Dr. Joe Lester.
I've been a small business person for over 40 years. What I would do as a congressman, I would vote to get some more money down here for small business. During when we had the COVID thing, they sent money from SBA like it wasn't anything. But when you go in today to try to get an SBA loan, there's so much red tape that you never get nothing. But I want to bounce back to this conversation we had a few minutes ago about how do we stop the shutdown. You got to get out and vote. We're losing the election left and right. Even if we go there and hold out and let all these folks go home for all these days, Trump not going to sign it. So the only way we're going to fix some of the issues that we have, we're going to have to get folks involved. We should have a full house here tonight. Small businesses, we're going to have to do something about small businesses. I talked to somebody a couple of days ago about some money from DOC, Department of Transportation, Department of Transportation. And they said, oh, you're never going to get the primary loan. Why? Because they have structured it that the primary loan only go to folks who are in cahoots with the folks who run things. So if we don't get the right folks in office, we're going to always be lagging behind. If we don't get some small businesses running, we're not going to have any money in our community, okay? That's a short answer.
Ron McKenzie.
Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. In fact, small businesses employ the majority of people who have a job in this country. And when we talk about what we're going to do to protect and help grow small businesses, one thing we need to realize is that this administration has gone out of its way to look across the federal government and say any program that benefits women or minorities, we're going to defund it, we're going to cut it, and we're going to call it unlawful DEI. And so now more than ever, our small businesses, particularly in our communities of color, are under attack. And so as a member of Congress, one of the first things I would do is ensure that we restore funding to these programs to make sure that everybody in any zip code has the opportunity to have access to loans, grants, and resources so that they can grow their business. Another thing I will say is my background is actually in business consulting. And if you go on my website right now, we actually have a small business hub where we provide support and help to small businesses. And one thing that I've noticed throughout my career is that there are a lot of people who are good at the thing that they're good at. So whether you are a restaurant owner, whether you're a hairstylist, whether you own a tire shop, oftentimes they're good at that thing, but they need help with the operations side, and they need mentorship to really understand how do you get your operations more efficient so that you can grow, expand, and continue to stay afloat. And so one of the things that I would support as a member of Congress is making sure that, particularly in our Black and brown communities and rural communities, that we're putting the resources and mentorship so people can have that and they can thrive and grow in their business.
Thank you.
Judge Carlos Moore.
Thank you. I'm Judge Carlos Moore. She said, I'm very happy to be with you. Excuse my tardiness. The Atlanta traffic got me. As you know, infrastructure is something that we will work on when we get to Congress. But as far as small businesses, I started my business at the age of 28. I'm now 48, so nearly 20 years, I never missed a payroll. I employed people, and small businesses are the heartbeat of our society for this district. And so I know what it means to meet a payroll. I know what it means to employ people. When I started, I couldn't get a bank loan. I want to change that, and if people have a good business plan, I want the Small Business Administration to fund some of these businesses. If you have a good plan, go ahead and fund these individuals. I had to make it on my own for 2 years before I ever was eligible for a loan. I also want to bring back the minority business enterprise in the Department of Commerce. My good friend Don Cravens, who once headed the Urban League, was the executive director over that under President Biden. President Trump has now defunded that, the minority business enterprise. I want to bring that back. That is something that's much needed. Our people built this country, and we deserve to get a leg up and be able to have our businesses.
Thank you.
As a former vice president for the business development for the World Trade Center Atlanta, we have already put forth legislation that will bring in $123.74 billion back to the state of Georgia. And that funding is going to businesses within the nation. That funding will, that partnership allows us to also partner with aquaponics, hydroponics, vertical farming with the schools. That is going into agriculture that will turn around and reduce the amount of money that we're paying at our grocery stores. It's going into agriculture and it's bringing back all types of industries currently into the state of Georgia, into the nation. That resolution, the House Resolution 1252, has been pushed through the state legislation here in the state of Georgia, and it's also been transferred over to the House Republicans on the federal level. So once I am elected to Congress, we're just going to continue to push legislation that is already in place, it's already moving forward. That's all we're going to do. Continue to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pierre Watley.
So, as others have stated, small businesses are the backbone of our country. I too am a small business owner, and for those of you in the audience, who all remembers the PPP loan process? Raise your hand. PPP. That was a program during the Biden administration that served as a lifeline for Black and brown businesses across this country. One of the first things that I would do is to, as Mr. Moore mentioned, is to restore the Minority Business Development Agency and make sure that it is its own agency, because education, resources, contacts, contracts are the name of the game, and we are a step behind, and we have to make sure that people are educated. When we talk about access to capital, we have to make sure that our communities have the knowledge and the resources and the tools, how to properly set up an LLC, make sure their business credit is up to speed, make sure they have all of their documents in order. These are the limitations that hold us back. And so day one, my first day in Congress is to restore the MBDA so that the resources and set up satellite offices throughout our district so that small business owners in our community could come out and get the education and the tools and the resources to make sure that their small businesses not only thrive for today, but continue in the future as well.
Give a hand to these candidates for the first round of questions. As we move on to Alton and home, gridlock in Washington often has real consequences for families at home. How will you balance federal negotiation with your responsibility to protect Georgia families, workers, small businesses, and critical programs? If a shutdown threat came up during your term, what would be your first steps to limit the impact on your district?
Dr. Heavenly Kimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I believe that a shutdown should never happen. I think that we should be able to work across the aisle to make sure it does not happen. But if it does, I think as a congressperson, you should also be the leader of your congressional caucus. I think that you should be able to talk to the people, do roundtable discussions, town halls, whatever you need to lead the people, your constituents, to make sure that they have the necessary information.
Is going to happen again. It may not happen in January, but if one of us, or as your next elected representative, that is something that we must deal with. And the key to preventing that, sometimes the real answer is we may have to cross this bridge again. And that is a sad reality of our politics. When we talk about the longest shutdown that just ended, that is something that we do not negotiate over people's health care. So when we talk about getting 42 million people, 20 million people getting kicked off ACA, 42 million people, insurance premiums spiking, there is no negotiation over people's health. people are literally going to die. And so that is something that I will stand on every day, day one, twice on Sunday, to make sure that my mother, my grandmother, my auntie, my teachers, all have the necessary requirements, healthcare that they deserve. And that moving forward, we have to realize that
That's
we are
time.
in a new playbook.
Mr. Wakely, that's your
Yes,
time.
ma'am, I'm sorry. But
I know you came late, but you have a minute. The screen is in front of you. You have a minute and a half. Yes, sir.
Dr. Joe Lester.
Shut down, shut down, shut down. We've been shut down and shut out for years. How do we prevent that? We need jobs, 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 access to capital, small business. The only way we can make it in this community, you gotta have some jobs, you gotta have some money. That every time that we have a shutdown, the only folks suffering is the poor folks. And the poor folks are suffering because they don't have jobs. We gotta figure out how we're gonna bring some money into this community, how we're gonna get some capital to set up some business, so we can make a living. You just can't keep on saying they're gonna shut down, what are we gonna do? You're gonna suffer because basically if you don't have your folks in place and you have not voted, we cannot make any legislation and get it passed if we do not have the votes. Vote, 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 jobs, 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 well, is the antidote for a shutdown.
Thank you.
Ron McKenzie.
So I think as a member of Congress, your number one duty is to your constituents. And so one of the first things I would do amidst the shutdown is I would stand up to leaders of both parties, because let's just be frank about this. When Chuck Schumer decided to shut the government down over the enhanced ACA credits, that was the right thing to do. But it was only the right thing to do if you had a plan to actually get it done. And what we did was we went into that, we shut the government down for 43 days, and at the end of those 43 days, we came out of it with a bill, a continuing resolution that reopens the government.
Pushing legislation to make it illegal to shut down the government. And I'm pretty sure that I can get support from the party and pushing forward with that type of legislation. As a legislation act, that's only getting most of our members of Congress and the Senate to vote in the same fashion. And I'm pretty sure, with the support of my friend David Hambrick, who is here with the Clayton County Republican Party, I'm pretty sure that that is something that we can actually move forward and work together to see if we can actually start pushing forward legislation just to make it illegal to shut down the government, whether it's the Democrats' fault or whether it's the Republicans' fault. When we win office, let's just make it illegal to shut down the government. Problem solved.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. Federal voting rights and redistricting.
But what happens is that is actually the job of each state legislature. And so if you live in a state that is run by Republicans, Republicans get to draw those lines. If you live in a state that's run by Democrats, Democrats get to draw those lines. And then you have some states that have independent redistricting committees where a group of nonpartisan people are the ones that are drawing those lines. The problem that we have right now is you got a president that can call the governor of Texas and say, get me 5 seats. And then, as a county,
within our community, we have the opportunity to choose a governor that will represent us, and we can get the correct people appointed to this board. And also, I want to make sure again, we've got to have representation, not just in Washington, but we need to be able to juggle our time between Washington and District 13. The average time that the U.S. Congress person in District 13 and all districts, they serve approximately 147 days in Congress. You got 365 days in a year. You need to know the needs and the concerns of your district in order that you can represent the district well in Washington. So you meet the needs, you solve the problems, you find out where the areas are that are weak, and then you make sure that you get people appointed to the correct boards, because a lot of things don't just happen with elected officials. We've got people who are appointed to boards that are making decisions for us that we sleep on these elections. Last but not least, you gotta vote. You gotta let people know the importance of getting out to vote, and this is one.
Thank you so much. All right, the second set of questions are able to be answered by the, he's in the second set, am I correct?
Dr. Everton Blair.
Okay, my apologies.
No worries, thank you. So I have a good bit of experience doing redistricting as the chair of the Gwinnett County School Board. We had to undergo reapportionment and redistricting in 2021. Senate Republicans actually tried to draw me out of my district. I had to testify at the Capitol, and we beat the bill. And we did so by getting really scrappy and smart and ahead of
For business development for the World Trade Center Atlanta, again, we've already pushed forward with legislation that will bring $123.74 billion back to the state of Georgia. As also a member of the NSBA, the National Small Business Association. I sat on the Tax Committee, Economic Development Committee, as well as the Technology Committee. So when it comes to allocation of funds and bringing it back to businesses, we have already have a proven track record of doing it. And with House Resolution 1252, that really is, in simplest form, simplest term, a reversal of the NAFTA agreement, bringing back all of our businesses and all our jobs back to the state of Georgia.
Thank you so much. What we're trying to do here is to make sure that each set gets a different question so it doesn't be boring to you all, 11 people asking the same question. So we apologize if there was some confusion.
Groceries are sky high, the rent is going up, inflation is through the roof, and what do we need to do? One thing that I think as far as the home ownership piece is to incentive, and before I answer that question too, there's a new report that just came out that the average first-time home buyer's new age is 40 years old. So that means if you got kids living at your house right now, they're gonna be there for a while. And so how do we address that problem? I think federal dollars behind first-time home buyers. So there's a $20 billion program to ensure that we can help.
Something is wrong because we are one of the greatest countries in the world. We're one of the richest countries in the world, contrary to popular belief. Because if we can give tax advantages and tax credits and bail out major corporations, we surely can take care of our people. We definitely have to increase minimum wage. I believe it's $7.25. Definitely not a livable wage. I think that home ownership, again, is one of the number one ways to increase wealth in our community, and we need to be able to have home ownership. We need to have programs to educate people on how to get home ownership. Not only that, we need to teach them how to fix their credit. We need to have down payment assistance programs and programs to help us keep up with everybody else. We'll make sure that we can stay afloat. I think that the economy is a major problem in this country because things like childcare should be free. Education should be free. If other countries can't do it and we can give money to other countries, we darn sure can do it here. I think that the economy is something that's created, but I think that small businesses, again, are the backbone of the economy. And if we support small businesses, create jobs right here in our community, we can help everybody live a better life.
Thank you. Dr. Joe Lester.
That means people can raise the price of whatever they want to. Same with the drug companies. We got to cut out the middleman. Anytime you got a middleman, he jacks the price up. We can increase money going to small businesses, get incentives to small businesses that want to own some grocery stores. So we can keep costs balanced. But as long as we have a monopoly, pass some legislation to stop the monopoly on all these big companies that are combining, buying out the small companies, and now you don't have no choice but to go to public support.
Thank you. Ron McKenzie.
So, as many people mentioned, we have an affordability crisis in our country. And one of the first things I would do as a member of Congress is reclaim Congress's power to impose tariffs. That is a power that belongs to Congress, not the President of the United States. And the environment that he's created right now, where he's imposing 100% tariffs on this country one day and then taking away the next day, is not only driving up costs across the economy, it's creating uncertainty in our businesses where they are hedging their bets, afraid to invest, which is making things more expensive for everyday Americans. And so that would be one of the first things I would do as a member of Congress, is to reclaim our power to impose taxes and take it out of the executive branch because it does not belong there. Now, if you look at where costs are really up, it's healthcare, it's housing, it's childcare, it's groceries. You just take those one by one. On healthcare,
taxed too heavily. I mean, 40% of your wages pretty much goes to taxes. When you add up the federal taxes and the state taxes, just ridiculous. You don't have enough money to put bread on the table. The price of eggs continues to go up. I mean, the price of gas is just becoming too costly to live, and so we're going to try to get a handle on it. I'm in favor of universal child care. I do believe that's needed. I believe a single-payer system for health care is needed. So universal health care, the ACA has been a good stopgap measure. We need to continue that until we can get universal health care, but that is the solution, I believe, to the rising cost of health care. That go back to having health care insurance being non-profit and not for profit, because that's killing us. I mean, a bag of saline, $3, and they charge you, look at your bill, they charge you $100 for some saline, some salt water. That's crazy. They're making a profit off our backs, and we have to get a handle on prices.
Thank you so much.
Concentrate into your district and find out what the needs are, what the concerns are. I would use federal grants and federal funding to strengthen private-public partnerships so that we can make sure that people in District 13 have the needs necessary to continue on. I would push for affordable housing and multi-generational housing. Right now, you have many of us who have parents, grandparents, and children or grandchildren living all in the same house. And to make that affordable, I would try to create multi-generational housing and push for federal funding in that. Also, you need to make sure that you know what the concerns are of the district. Many people disappear. Sometimes some of us don't even know who our district representative is. So I would make sure that I would spend enough time in the district to find out what the needs are, find out what the concerns are, and meet those needs and solve those problems.
Thank you.
Member of Congress should be doing for you when they're back home. Every week of a month is a district week where we should be hearing from our member of Congress. We have not. And this entire shutdown, we have not heard any news. And that's unacceptable. The congressman has served honorably in the past. The time has come for new leadership. And I commit to you to being very accessible and present. I also think that your member of Congress should create an informal convening power so that you're aware of what the small businesses need in your community. You're aware of what the pain points are with residents in neighborhoods. You're aware of what you can be doing to just, take the resources that are already in our community at our disposal and connecting them to one another. That doesn't take rocket science, it just takes willpower. And so much of what I see is we have so much more than we deserve, but we haven't even really seen it because we've not had a member of Congress that has shown up for us. And this district has an incredible opportunity to partner better and to really lean in and understand its pain, and then bring some modern solutions to modern challenges. So I want to commend everybody for being here and doing the first step to getting engaged. And I would love afterward for you to come to our booth, chat with me so that I can give you my contact info and you can share with me yours so that we can continue this partnership to really show what representation should look and feel like.
Thank you for the question. It's very simple. You have to show up. The incumbent hasn't shown up in years. I haven't met anybody who's seen this guy in 5 years. So I would definitely want to hold tours throughout the district, town halls, making sure I'm talking to the people, making sure I'm finding out what their pain points are, which is usually housing. Right now, the median price for a home in the United States is $400,000. Georgia's $375,000. That is ridiculous. The average person cannot afford that. The young family cannot afford it. The college graduate cannot afford that. We have to make sure we are incentivizing builders to build homes, and bring the price down. That's the first thing I would do. Bring the price down of these homes. Second, I would stop private equity firms from buying up entire neighborhoods, turning single-family homes to rental property. They're manipulating the market, causing the prices of homes in everyone's neighborhood to go up. I would write policy to make sure that these private equity firms could only buy a certain amount of property in our neighborhoods. We gotta make sure our neighborhoods stay full of people. This is how people build generational wealth. We're stealing the wealth of the American people. We cannot allow it. Thank you.
District 13. And as the state representative, I have held town halls, I have held community office hours, I hold school supply giveaways every summer, I've held health fairs and other community events. I show up to the fair, I show up to the parade. I'm there in the community. Hey, you can run into me at the grocery store. I want to scale that up to make sure that I am available to the people in the entirety of the district, because I do think that that is important. I want to make sure that the town halls are also accessible, so making sure that people can actually get to the town hall, because it's one thing to say we're having a town hall, but it's all the way, it's an hour and 15 minutes drive away. So showing up, that's what matters, and that is exactly what I have done and what I will do. Thank you.
All right, the next set of questions you'll be able to ask.
Republicans in Congress and by the Supreme Court. And one of the first things that we should do is make sure that we have voters picking their representatives and not representatives picking their voters. What's going on in our country right now with the redistricting and the gerrymandering is out of control. And so I would support national legislation that will create a framework for independent redistricting throughout the country so that our lines are drawn.
So redistricting is in the Constitution, so it's not going to go anywhere. It's literally been in the Constitution since the beginning of time. That's a full transparency. So the only thing that we can do to make it fair is that we was to create a joint committee between the House and the Senate, an oversight committee that is nonpartisan, that is both parties, that can actually oversee and make sure that everything is going on legally. That's really the best thing that we can actually put forward to do for the citizens, and that's full transparency. So we would just have members of the House and members of the Senate for both parties to oversee and make sure that everything is going in accordance to the constitutional law. Then that's the best answer. That's really what we can do. That's the only doable answer.
Thank you. Judge Carlos Ford.
I'm in favor of passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. When I was president of the National Bar Association, we lobbied Congress to pass it. It has not passed yet, but we will not rest. Hope springs eternal. It must pass. I believe the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act. Section 2 is the last thing. It's been our saving grace for the last few years, but that's on the chopping block now, and I do believe that they are going to completely eviscerate it, and we are going to go back to the days of this the Wild Wild West, where people can gerrymander us out of office pretty much. You see what they've already done in Texas. That's just a foreshadowing of what's to come. But I do believe that if the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passes, that will secure the protections that John Lewis, who I'm so fond of, and I'm glad to get to know him. We got to pass that, and we also have to have term limits for the Supreme Court. They are out of control. They are some bandits. They're out of control. We're going to have term limits. They don't need lifetime appointments, and we're going to have to pack the court, because what we have now is ridiculous. We are doomed for hell if this current trajectory continues, and so we have to get that under control. I know that Congress writes the law. The Supreme Court interprets the law. Congress can counteract whatever that crazy Supreme Court does, but you have to have enough people in Congress to do the right thing. So that's why I'm going, because you can count on me to do the right thing in Congress. I have a backbone. I majored in political science at the University of South Alabama. I went to law school at Florida State University. I know the law. I'm trained in it. And that's politics and everything. You're never going to get around politics. You're going to have to redistrict, and somebody has to win the game. You got to play the game to win. I know how to play it.
Dr. Heather Price.
Yes, people have suffered and died for our voting rights act. I think it's something that's sacred, that it's the only thing we have to actually put our voice out there, and and people can hear us speak. I think that yes, we should definitely continue the John Lewis Voters' Right Act, but also we should make it easier for our constituents to vote by keeping early voting, by keeping mail-in voting, by allowing people to vote. And when you talk about like gerrymandering and stuff like that, if you're going to listen to the Constitution, like the other man said, and you actually can redistrict every 10 years, then we have to hold our people accountable, because if they're not going to listen to the Constitution anyway, what are we doing? How are we allowing people to gerrymander maps in the middle of the mid-decade? That should not be allowed. I don't know how you would stop it if we don't have a backbone to actually interpret the laws and make sure that people are following the laws. So we're just spinning our wheels here. I think that voting is so important. I think it's definitely a voice for the people. I think that people saw on November 4th that our vote does really matter. I've done interesting things with everybody, but one thing that we can do to connect with voters is do what we've already been doing, what I've already been doing, go to every angle of this community and make sure we know what the issues are. We have to meet senior citizens where they're at. We may have to go to their senior citizen centers. But voting right is something that everybody should have, and we should not take it for granted.
Is at the heart of the civil rights movement, and so it would be, it's our duty to uphold that legacy. So of course, I would support in advance on day one the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Of course, I would vote to make voting day a federal holiday so that workers have the chance to go out and do their civic duty and elect members of Congress that they want to have represented for them. I think, as folks have mentioned, there is a reason why the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act is under attack. Republicans have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, which Judge Moore has mentioned already. But I would take it a step further. I would go and support expanding the Supreme Court from a 6-3, from a non-justice to increasing that so that we can level the playing field. We have to fight fire with fire. I think we have to understand that the political playbook, the rules of yesterday, are not the rules that we have to abide by moving forward. And so that is going to take a new voice, a new strategy, new methods to continue to ensure that our rights and our perspectives are at the table so that they cannot take us back.
Thank you. Dr. Joe Lester.
I'm all for passing the Voting Rights Act, and I also think that we need to have a national redistricting strategy too. But here's the main thing, that people just don't vote. The last election we had in Montgomery County for mayor, 12,000, not 12, I'm sorry, 2,000 folks voted out of 17,000 people. In this election for this seat right here, the last election, 67,000 people voted out of a possible 750,000 folks. Here's my point. We can come up with laws, the rules, the regulations, but you're not going to pass them if you're going to have people in office. What we need to do is figure out some strategy. What are we doing in the Democratic Party that our turnout is so low? I think tonight is a great start that we got a bunch of folks on the stage. That's good because we're recruiting more candidates, we get more folks to cooperate. But to make all of that, to make all of this work, we gotta have the people behind us. If you don't have the people behind, you're not going to be able to fight these folks that we go by votes. That's what putting folks on the Supreme Court. You can't put them on the Supreme Court when you got a elected person that's not for you. So we're going to have to figure out some strategy. I don't know what that strategy is, but we're going to have to do it. Okay?
Thank you so much. Let's move on to our next set of questions. Let's talk about economic stability and affordable living. Many families across Georgia are struggling with housing affordability, inflation, and wages that are not keeping up with the costs of living. As a member of Congress, what specific federal policies or partnerships would you champion to promote economic growth and make living more affordable for the people of the 13th District?
Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark.
Thank you so much for this question. Right now, we are sitting in the Congressional District in the state of Georgia that has the most homes that are owned by these corporate venture capitalists that are out of state. The most in the entire state of Georgia. And what does that mean? That means that people cannot actually compete because they go to the bank, they need an appraisal, they gotta have an inspection, and these corporations don't have to do any of those things. And then they get in, they drive up the prices of the homes in that area, and they're renting out these homes, but they are bad landlords a lot of the time. They're not showing up, they're not doing the maintenance, they're not actually taking care of the properties. And so this puts regular, everyday working people who want to fulfill the American dream in a situation where they don't have an opportunity to. And so we definitely need to get a handle on that. In the State House, we have passed a bill that says they can't stay out of state. If you're gonna be here buying up property, you need to be down here taking care of those properties. And that is something that I think needs to happen across the board. But when we talk about affordability, we have to just realize that things like tariffs, things like these corporations buying up the homes, all of these things are things that we don't have to actually have. And as a member of Congress, I'm running out of time. As a member of Congress, I want to make sure that we are actually addressing the affordability issue. Thank you so much.
Dr. Jeffrey Roy Senior.
So in all fairness, I did answer this question, but I'll take it on staff.
Dr. Everton Blake.
So I do believe that the private equity issue is incredibly pernicious in our district, especially in Henry County, where one corporation owns the majority of single-family homes. Single-family homes are supposed to be owned by single families, not corporations. So Congress should crack down on all of that. I also think, though, there are bigger, deeper-seated issues as to why we have now a permanent class of renters who is just one paycheck away from eviction, rather than having the opportunity to own and afford a home. And so some of that is, we have to look at the industry opportunities that are available in this community, in this district. We cannot all be so heavily reliant on the city of Atlanta. We need to have some of those industries in the suburbs where all of us live in this congressional district. And bringing those jobs back to our home community means investing in small businesses and investing in career pathways that actually enable the next generation to build a business that can flourish and thrive. Now, what that also means is we've got to look at the way that this is mapped out onto our community, and where there's corporations that are coming in and building big data centers that are displacing us and leaving us with the remnants of just taking up all of our water and electricity, right? That's also skyrocketing our rates and making it hard for people to afford the housing that is available. We need to regulate automation, which is taking up some of the jobs, the remaining good jobs that are in our community. And we need to make sure that there's a little bit of that profit that we are reinvesting back in the community so that we can benefit from all of this big business and the billionaires that are taking so much of our economic opportunity right now. So we need a member of Congress who can fight it back, and bring those resources into our community.
Thank you so much.
Simeon Nunley.
I'm all for the National Defense Education Act of 2027 and the Arsenal of Democracy Act of 2027. Currently in our district, we got a lot of military installations that are literally just sitting and vacant. If we can come in and rehabilitate those military installations, we can actually get them up and develop for the new drone technology of the future. We can bring in more jobs. And last time I checked, it's not the federal government that's raising property taxes. So what we can do as a member of Congress is work with the county commissions and say, if we bring in more businesses, how can we offset the taxes for the citizens? What can we do to bring in businesses that can lower the sales tax and the property tax and the land tax for these citizens? What do we need to do? What is the new industry that we can work together that we can do for these citizens? And again, on our level, our campaign is championing the National Defense Education Act of 2027, as well as an Arsenal of Democracy Act of 2027 to actually move forward with those types of initiatives so we can actually make that happen sooner than later.
As we move on to the next set of questions, staying connected to voters, you have an opportunity to answer that question. Elected officials sometimes become disconnected from the people after taking office. How would you stay accessible and accountable to your voters? And what steps will you take to ensure that voices remain at the center of your work in Congress? Peter Bourne.
I'm gonna answer this question also, but you know what, I'm going at it anyway.
No, we won't do that. Go to the next one. I think what's happening, audience, we have some candidates that are missing, and we already have it set, so she's trying to make sure everyone gets even questions. So please bear with us so we can make sure that everyone gets the even questions. So let's give her a round of applause. She's trying to keep up with making sure that everyone is done appropriately. So thank you so much, madam.
Dr. Representative.
Yes, it's the second set.
My apologies. So we'll go to Dr. Joe Lester.
want to stay in contact with voters. The word representative means that you are representing some people. If you have not spoken to some people, then you're not representing them. What I would do, I would set up a commission in Clayton County, a little bit of DeKalb County, Rockdale County, whatever, a group of people that we're going to meet and talk about the issue. Moses, when he set up the government in the Bible, God told him, get some help. You can't do all this by yourself. You cannot do all this by yourself. What we need, and what I would do as our representative, I would set up some commissions in all the community, and I would do town hall. So my constituents would always know what I'm standing, because I'm going to be standing in the community right with them.
Robert McKenzie.
So I think it's very important that we are present in the community as a member of Congress. So that does mean coming back, doing town hall, and strategies that protect our communities. Particularly because we know much of what's happening right now has been telegraphed by the Republicans, put in Project 2025, and yet and still we don't have a coherent response for what we're going to do to protect our people. And I think that needs to stop, and I think it requires us to be in the community, meeting people where they are, and bringing them the resources and the help that they need.
Be very accessible to the people. I believe a representative should be just that, a representative. I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I would listen first. The first 100 days of the Moore administration as being a congressman, I would go and listen to across the entire district. Find out what the people want and need. And then periodically, and every year, I would host town halls, some in person, some virtual. I also believe that having one district office is not enough. I also know that there are financial constraints, so you cannot have a district office in all 6 counties, but you probably could group them. You probably could have 2 or 3, one on the east side, one on the west side, and maybe no more than 3. But I would look and see what the budget could hold, and then I would decide how many offices you could have in the district. If we could not have hard brick and mortar offices in the district, across the district, then I will make sure that that person traveled across the district, rode the circuit, and the field representatives came out and met you at your city halls or your county courthouses to make sure you could get in touch with somebody live. Because all of us, you can get on Zoom, but it's nothing like hands-on interaction. So I'll make sure that my staff was available and that I was available. I would not just stay in DC, but I would be active in the district. I'm very sociable on social media. You can find me very easily. I mean, during my practice of law, people would reach out to me through Facebook. 43,000 followers on Facebook, 67,000 on LinkedIn. Join the party. 13,000 on Instagram. So I'm very accessible, and I communicate myself to the people when they reach out to me.
Thank you. Simeon Natalie.
I'm very accessible to the citizens, and actually for transparency, I like hanging out with the citizens more than I like hanging out with the elected officials. So I'm all for reaching out to the organizations like the 100 Black Men, Boys and Girls Clubs, things of that capacity to tell them, hey, once y'all set up a day where we can actually come out and hang out with the schools, the high schools, and meet with the citizens. Yes, we can do town halls, but again, it's not just one directional. The citizens can always ask us for us to come out to meet with the citizens, and as well as we can schedule holidays, school days, vacation days for the school systems to actually come and tour DC like other representatives do. So there are multiple ways that we can stay engaged to basically your whole house, to the whole family. So it's not just one way. It's not just a town hall, not just social media. There are arsenals of ways that we can stay connected to the citizens so they can always hear our voices, right? You can reach out to the news media, the news stations. You can come and hear us that way as well. So again, I'm all really for moving forward with doing things like having those school systems come to DC so they can actually get that exposure as well. So again, multiple ways, arsenal of ways, and I am absolutely open to utilizing each and every last one.
As we move on, let's talk about working across the aisle. As you know, this is a nonpartisan forum, so we have candidates from both sides of the spectrum, both sides of the parties, different parties. So talking about working across the aisle, Congress can be deeply divided. How would you work across the aisle to deliver real results for your district and build consensus on issues that matter to Georgia? Peter Bourne.
Thank you for the question. I've already stated that I'm more than willing to work with anyone as long as they're working for the betterment of this country and for this state. That should not be an issue. We talked about this when talking about the shutdown. Gotta make sure we have people who are actual leaders. Real leaders don't care about party, they care about people. That's the most important thing. Can't allow people to play politics. They're not willing to work across the aisles. They just want to play those games and play with people's lives. We're talking about people who, you gotta make sure that people we put in the office really understand what's going on. We have people talking about they support small businesses, but they want to double the minimum wage. That will put small businesses out of business. Okay, you gotta make sure people understand how this economy works. If you want to really support small businesses, make sure you remove regulation, unnecessary regulation, so they can be prosperous. You want to make sure you bring back jobs in industries like logistics, construction, manufacturing back to this nation so our economy can thrive. You got to make sure we have people who understand this, or we're going to end up all paying more. If you want to talk about doing all these free things for this country, that's your tax dollars you're talking about. Nothing's free. You all understand this. Okay? Top 10% of this country pay for 72% of the taxes. What's the top 10%? Anybody making $150,000. Top 50% is anyone making $51,000. Okay? And that's paying 97% of the taxes. If they say tax the rich, they're talking about you.
Thank you.
Representative Dr. Jasmine Clark. Yes, so I currently am the co-chair of the Georgia Future Caucus. And what that is a caucus that has two chairs. There's a Democratic chair, of which I am the chair, and there's a Republican chair. And we get together in a room and we say, what are some issues that we can actually agree on and work on together? Because there are actually a lot of issues. A lot of people don't realize, because it doesn't make the news, that when we're in the state legislature, we actually agree way more than we disagree. And that we're actually voting on a lot more things than we're fighting on. But here's the thing. If you want to sit down with me and talk good policy and bring forth good policy and work together to do what we need to do to improve the quality of life for our constituency, I am 100% with you. But if you want to come to me and say, I'm going to do things that are going to remove millions of people from their health care, cause our rural hospitals to close, close our nursing homes, kick people off of their SNAP benefits, kick people off of Medicaid, I'm not working with you on that. I'm with you when you're right, but when you're wrong, I'm going to stand up to you and I'm going to fight back.
Dr. Jeffrey Senior.
Listen, all my life, I've been in public service as a law enforcement officer, as a graduate from the Howard University. My dissertation was in the importance of community partnerships. I've been in ministry for over 30 years. I've worked with people who agreed with me and didn't agree with me. But what I have found is the importance of being able to have artful negotiations to drive the common goal for the common good for the common person. We don't always have to be in agreement, but we should be in alignment. We should find out where the North Star is for everybody within the district. And let's see if we can work together for one common goal to make sure that the district is represented in Washington and in the state of Georgia. But that takes listening, that takes caring, that takes empathy. So I've done this all of my life and I will continue. Matter of fact, it's not I will continue, I am continuing as we speak. I'm not waiting to be elected to serve District 13. I'm serving District 13 as we speak.
Dr. Edwardson Clare.
Thank you for this question. When I was elected in 2018, I was a lone Democrat on the largest school board in the state. And I was 40 years younger than my next oldest colleague. I'm not new to having to work across lines of difference, and I'm not new to having to build coalitions with people who might look or approach issues differently than I do. When I was alone on that board, though, I did not ever waver from democratic values because that's what was important for the district and for the students in the community. And in so doing, I recruited people to run for the remaining seats, and I flipped the board. Then I was unanimously elected board chair by Democrats and Republicans to lead the largest school system in the state. And while there, we focused on the things that we agreed on, things that they would have looked crazy for opposing. In the minority, I centered those issues before so that when in the majority, we could get them through and I could have a unanimity where it was possible. And then where there was a disagreement, we still clung to our values of progressive policy and did the right things for students. Expanding the largest budget in this state's history. Hiring more social workers, counselors, mental health professionals, and school nutrition officers. Giving every single employee a raise in Gwinnett County, especially our paraprofessionals and our bus drivers. All it takes is courage. And what we realized very quickly is that if you are on the offensive and you center the policies that matter and that impact people on an everyday basis, people will see that your policy is right and they need to get on your team.
Dr. Heather Collins.
As a healthcare provider, I've actually experienced all types of people with all kinds of personalities. And I think that it takes what we call emotional intelligence to get along with everybody and understand where they're coming from. As a healthcare provider, I always will lean on humanity. And I think that the people that are in office have to be humane. I've actually owned several dental practices, so I know the art of negotiation. And I think that you have to come as a business leader first and understand what you can agree on first and what you disagree on, and through communication come to an agreement that we can all agree on. But the country right now is agreeing on things that they could not possibly believe that are okay for our people. So first and foremost, you've got to get people in office that actually care about the people, because if they don't, then anything you say and anything you vote on doesn't really matter, because they're voting on their own interest. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because we're sick of the status quo. We're sick of politics as usual. We need people in here that have real relatable people that care about people in our community. And that's the only way we can work together and work across the aisles, in my opinion.
Pierre Watley.
Thanks. I think I agree with everything that everyone has said on this stage. So I'll just add that when there's an opportunity to work across the aisle, I will show up. I will be there. That is the humane thing to do, such as on things like supporting our military. Those are things that extend working across the aisle. Supporting homelessness, addressing the homelessness crisis in our country. Those are things that we want to address on a bipartisan basis. One thing that we have not addressed and talked about, I think, is about supporting our young people. I have an 18-year-old son, supporting more money in federal dollars to expand apprenticeship programs and early career programs across this country so that our young people can start and have a leg up in this economy in our country. I also want to address really quickly the representation piece. I think representatives have to show up. And one thing that I would do is understanding that representatives cannot be in all places at all times. I want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and they have a seat at the table. So I would establish a youth advisory council so that our youth are more engaged and more empowered to participate in voting and public policy matters. I would stand up a small business advisory council so that our small businesses have a seat at the table and can elevate their voice. And then lastly, I would stand up a senior advisory council for our senior citizens.
Well, as a former elected delegate to the Democratic Party, and then the former president for the Young Democrats of Henry County, and we started the Young Democrats of Clayton County, but now Representative Eric Bell, and then God bless him, winning the election on the national level as the vice chair of the Veterans Caucus on the national level, winning all votes but Utah, and then switching over to working with the Republican Party. And literally, since the Republicans now back up all our lawsuits, I end up literally switching to the Republican Party. So when you talk about walking across the aisle, I literally made a house across the aisle. We've got 7 Democrats elected to office under the Democratic Party, and now I am myself as running as a Republican because the Republicans is helping me with these lawsuits that we're moving forward with. And again, the chairman is here, Chairman David Hambrick is here, as he knows that we are actually filing a lawsuit against the companies that's dumping the forever chemical into the water system in Clayton County, Gwinnett County, Henry County, Rockdale County, and Newton County. And especially in the Gwinnett County school systems, where the kids was drinking lead ever since 2017, 2018. So I am the perfect advocate to talk about working across the party aisle, since I literally again at my house with now the Republican Party across party aisles.
Judge Carlos Moore.
As a trial lawyer for over 22 years, I became a shrewd negotiator. I represented one side or the other, but 97% of our cases settled. We rarely had to go to trial because both sides were good lawyers. You would know the strength and the weakness of your case, and you would end up settling the case. If it's a civil case, if it was a criminal case, a lot of the times there would be a plea. Very rarely do we have to go to court for a jury trial in the civil or criminal arena. So I'm a shrewd negotiator. I'm trained at that. On the bench, 6.5 years, I was the umpire. I listened to both sides of the law, and I came up with a judgment. You cannot pull the wool over my eyes. I heard it from both sides. I came up with a judgment. Now I'm a registered mediator in the state of Georgia, where I help people reach consensus, avoiding the courtroom, avoiding litigation, and try to reach consensus voluntarily. So when I'm trained, I'm registered, I know how to do that. I will take those same skills to Congress. But there are those few, 97% of the time we sell, but 3% of the time we have to go to trial. When I'm with you, I'm with you. I'm not gonna sell I've never sold a client out. I will fight to the end. If you're not gonna offer me a dime, we got to go to court. I'm not just gonna bend over and say, oh, you get nothing. We go to court and let the jury decide how much that client got. Or if it was somebody that was facing life in prison or some kind of stiff sentence and I thought it was just unjust, you go try it. Because I'm not going to let somebody plead to a felony when they didn't commit a felony. So you've got to have your principles. There are some things worth fighting for. SNAP benefits are worth fighting for. ACA subsidies, extensions were worth fighting for.
So I am all for bipartisan compromise where it makes sense, but I would never compromise my values or sell out the people of the 13th Congressional District. And one thing that we need to be clear about is that we have a president of the United States who has said he has no desire to be president for the whole of America, and that the 50% of this country that didn't vote for him or disagrees with his policies, he's actually going to use the full weight of the federal government to come after us. Just look at what happened in the shutdown, right? He was gloating about the fact that he was going to take SNAP benefits away from needy families, that he was going to look at democratic programs that he could defund permanently during the shutdown because he wanted to punish people. And so it makes it hard to find areas of compromise in this administration, but I do see glimmers of hope. We even have people like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's all of a sudden starting to make sense in certain issues, where she said, hey, I do think we need to do something about healthcare. Hey, Trump should release the Epstein files. And so if we can get folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene on board and find a compromise with her, that gives me hope that in Congress we can do the same thing. And as an attorney, as a Harvard Law grad and a Harvard Law student, I was a student public defender, and then I represented clients in federal court with the DOJ and SEC. My number one job was to protect my client, to find areas of compromise where it made sense. And that's the same thing I would do in Congress.
Dr. Joe Lester.
Compromise, working across the line. One thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene, that let me know that she had good sense and knew better all along. Here's the point. You're sending me to Congress to work for you. I will work across the line, under the line, above the line, but I will never forget the folk that sent me to work. That's you.
Well, give these candidates a hand clap. And we want to thank them because we have Democratic and Republican candidates sitting together being able to discuss the issues. So this time we have a short period, I want y'all to hear me, a short time for audience questions. You have 30 seconds, not your testimony, 30 seconds to ask the question and let us know which candidate you want to ask that question to, and they have a minute to respond.
If you could stand, please.
And if you happen to have a question, please come to the aisle and they can be able to give that question to you. Please raise your hand so we can move quickly and swiftly.
Good night to all the candidates. Thank you guys for running. I appreciate you. My question is for Ron McKenzie, dealing with mental health. As a person that worked in the mental health field, I feel like a lot of the young kids that I used to work with, they don't have enough avenues and doors open for them to combat this problem. And it doesn't seem to be anything being done on a state or a local level to combat it either. So what I'm trying to see is there anything being done to, like a lot of facilities being shut down, no resources, is there anything being done to combat mental health crisis in this country and in the state and city?
So as I talk to voters all across this district, what I consistently hear, particularly from Black mothers, is the concern for their young sons. There is a mental health crisis that's happening amongst young boys that is going unanswered, right? We are living through some really tough economic times. We are also living in a shifting social environment where what masculinity means and what it means to be a man is being redefined in real time. And young boys are struggling to find a way to fit in and feel accepted in this new paradigm. And so at the same time, we're seeing mental health resources being stripped from our communities. We're seeing it being de-emphasized in our healthcare system. And we're seeing literally the federal government coming after mental health resources, particularly for Black and brown communities and for women. And so one of the things that I would focus on is making sure that we have the funding in place so that we can make sure our mental health resources and centers are getting the funding that they need, but also that we're building the mentorship and the pipelines and the programs for young boys to find community, to stay engaged, because that's really important, finding community amongst your peers.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys for being here.
You're speaking to the mic.
Thank you guys for being here. We talked a lot about making voting a national holiday, but what else can you do to promote voters, especially young voters, to get up and vote and not be so disillusioned with the process?
Who are you asking the question to?
Mr. Pierre.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, that's a great question. I think empowering our youth, empowering first-time voters is the key that's going to power us through the next generation. As I stated earlier, one of the things that I would do is go and meet the young people where they are. A lot of times, as you guys know, when you're 18, under 21, you are, the last thing that you're thinking about is voting and your civic duties and how it actually impacts you. And so that's why I would, for sure, the first day, stand up in District 13, a youth advisory council made up with representatives of young people under the ages of 21, and so that we are listening to them, so that we understand the needs that they care about, and so that we can adequately address them. In addition to that, I would go out to rec centers, I would go to elementary schools, I would go to middle schools, and create a feeder pipeline so that we can keep those young people engaged.
Thank you so much.
Can I rebuttal to that question?
Whoever they ask it to, the audience.
Okay, thank you to everyone who came out tonight. I am thrilled to see that you have a group of people who really want to represent us. I'm coming from an educational background. I have done career days for many, many years. I have never had a student to raise their hand to say they want to be a politician. So, I would like to know who on this stage would like to elaborate on how do you grow a politician from an elementary perspective that would transition from elementary, middle, high, and college.
Were you asking it to specific individuals or
whoever would like to take the floor?
Okay.
I'll take that. One of the things that I learned as a young person was civics. We don't teach civics any longer. So no one knows exactly who does what, who's responsible for what. We've got to make sure that we actually teach civics. Who's responsible on the local level, who's responsible on the county, the state, and the federal level. We have to talk and teach about the three equal branches, or supposedly equal branches, of of legislation within the United States. We've got to start teaching about the importance of civics. It's just that easy. And this is what got me involved in public service. And I don't say politics, I say public service, because that's how I learned civics. That civics is all about public service.
Yes. And please let us know who you're asking the question to so that candidates can know who to answer.
So the question is for the panel, whoever wishes to take a shot at it. Going to the international politics with the hashtag and I am Sudan. What are your stand on the issue in Sudan, the humanitarian crisis that is currently there? And what is your approach, or will be your approach with that case and with that issue that's taking place right now? Thank you.
Would you like her to understand and want her to repeat the question? If you could just repeat the actual question.
Yes.
Question.
So the stand on the issue of the humanitarian crisis in the country of Sudan, currently.
Talking about a genocide right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So what's currently going on in Sudan is absolutely tragic. And what we do need to do, in my perspective, is actually try to find a way to bring in some type of aid to Sudan, and try the same way that we was providing those safe passages for South Africa here to America. We need to possibly move forward to bringing that type of approach for Sudan here as well. I don't believe genocide should happen in any form, in any place across the country, across the globe. You see what's currently going on in the DRC, formerly known as Zaire. That genocide is still taking place right now as well. So when it comes to the foreign policies, we should not, as a country, allow all of these citizens to just get wiped out just due to whatever's currently going on. Stabilization to an economy is key. We don't have to necessarily open up the doors if that's an issue, but we can move forward with infrastructure development, bringing in jobs even to those other countries and creating those new partnerships arrangements.
Also, those who are asking questions, please make sure that you ask your questions in the 30 seconds. We have a hard stop at 9, and candidates, make sure you are following the time as well. You have 1 minute.
This question is for Everton Black. Since the people are very unhappy with the representation we have in Congressional District number 13, what will you do different than what David Scott is doing right now?
Thank you for the question. We've spoken earlier about just the need to have different regional offices and a member of Congress who knows how to be accessible and be present. But I also think you should have a member of Congress who knows how to use the internet. And transparently, we're way too technologically advanced to not be more connected to who our member of Congress is, where they stand on issues, and what's going on. And so I would have to answer the small business question earlier, I would have a repository of the small businesses in the community where everybody knows how to contact me and I know how to contact them. And if there's a pain point or an issue that's happening in their venture, they know exactly how to reach my constituent services office and my district director to really rally for those federal funds that we're sending through the Small Business Administration to be something that they can benefit from. I also think that there just needs to be way more of a communication two-way, where your member of Congress is surveying you, and it's not just asking for your vote every other year, but it's engaging you deeply on where you stand on specific issues so that they can best represent the amalgam of different issues and interests in the community. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
How y'all doing this morning, this evening? This question is for Pierre. I remember you had said something about veterans, and I wanted to know what are you going to do if moving forward about the problem of homeless veterans in America? Well, not just in America, but the state we have right now. Most of the homeless men I've met were veterans. Most of the homeless women I've met are veterans. So what do you think?
Thank you for the question. I think that's an issue that addresses the affordability crisis. Our veterans are the people who serve. We should always defend them 100% every time, no questions asked. And so thank you for your sacrifice and service to the country. Veterans homelessness is something. One thing that I would do is expand housing specifically for veterans. And have housing for them and incentivize builders to build more housing for our veterans. Separately, I would expand the VA budget to expand housing vouchers for our veterans. Lastly, I would expand small business benefits and programs
so that our veterans can get started to establish their own businesses as well, so that they can get on a path of sustainability. And I think that's key. So, thank you for the question.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. This question is for Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark, what do you believe are the most critical issues facing our young people, I would say 25 and below, and how can we galvanize them to get out and vote in these upcoming elections on that issue, whatever you think it is? Absolutely. So we talked a lot about affordability on the stage, and our young people are finding themselves in a position where they can't move out of their parents' house. They can't, we're in a situation where affordability is really impacting their ability to be as impactful as they want to be in this economy. They are innovative. They have great ideas. We also have seen attacks on higher education, and that is a big deal. And for our people under 25, they want to go to college, but one, they're scared of those student loans because they're out of control. Two, the programs that they want to get into are now, we're seeing from this administration, they're cutting them. And we want to make sure that we are feeding into our young people. Again, I'm the co-chair of the Future Caucus, and these are the things that we talk about. I also want to say the jobs of the future are not, or the jobs that we have right now are,
Good evening. This question is for Peter Bourne. You spoke specifically on taxes and how taxes are not a free lunch. How would you redirect the taxes that billionaires are actually living off of for a lot of the different corporations when there's not trickle down in those situations? How would you redirect that money since it's not a free lunch?
Well, like I said before, about 10% of this country pays for 72% of all the taxes. Federal taxes, we have a $37 trillion debt. So the top 10%, that's people making $150,000. That's people in this room. The top 50% pay for 97% of all the taxes, all the federal taxes, push down that debt. That's people making $51,000. So you're in the top 50% of the nation. So we're talking about taxing billionaires and these ultra wealthy people. You got to understand, those people are going to just move their money and leave. So when those taxes come down, they're going to land on us. You got to make sure when we're talking about taxes, we want tax decreases for the everyday person, so they can afford housing, so they can afford food. Prices are going up throughout the nation for all kinds of things. You got to make sure you're not burdening our everyday citizens.
Time. And we can take about one or two more questions because we definitely want to make sure we respect the time of the meeting.
Thank you all for being here. There's been a ton of questions about individuals being able to be available in Washington, D.C. and also to be available for your constituents. Everyone says that they're going to be available. Mr. Watley, do you have any type of experience or professional experience that you've shown to be available for individuals in two different locations that you expect to be the district party?
Thank you. So that's a great question. One of the things that I've been very blessed to do, I attended Howard University in DC. As I said earlier, I'm a father. My son is 18. I've been able to, I finished school. I traveled back and forth between DC and Georgia, and my son, graduated recently in May. Currently today, I serve as one of the most senior government relations professionals in this country, where I serve in DC, but I advocate for people right here in Georgia 13. I fight for equity, inclusion, fairness, stand up every day fighting for folks. And so when our congressman is not showing up in DC, I'm actually there in the halls of Congress doing the work. I've done the work, standing up for people, and I will continue to do so as I've done my entire adult life.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. I'm Carlisha Washington Smith. I am currently in a runoff here in Stonecrest for City Council. I would like to find out, being a candidate for city council, your office will need to be in contact with ours. How will you go about making sure that the needs of the municipals are met from your office to ours and staying in contact with us to ensure you understand our needs? And that would be for Mr. Moore.
Thank you. I actually have a plan to reach out to each municipality in the district. I reach out to the mayor and the council people from each district. I also reach out to each commissioner of every county in the district and make sure that we have a two-way discourse, because that's very important. Our politics is local. Local politics is where the rubber meets the road. And if I don't know what's going on the ground, I can't be an effective representative in Washington, D.C. I thought it was sad. I was speaking to a commissioner in Newton County. He told me he's contacted the current congressman and have requested a face-to-face meeting or either a Zoom meeting, has not received either. That will not happen when I'm your congressman. I will be there from day one. I will initiate the relationship and make sure that it is throughout my terms.
Let's give all these candidates a hand. As you can see before you, you have a choice today. In 2026, you have a total of 12 candidates that are running for the office of the 13th Congressional District, and you have the choice to make. Civic engagement is very important. Take this opportunity to research every candidate that's sitting on this stage to make sure you're making the right choice in November of 2026. Before we close, I want to first thank the women of the 13th Congressional Federation of Democratic Women. Please stand. We have someone outside as well, and someone back here. Without your commitment and hard work tonight, would it not have been possible. We want to thank Dr. Jamal Bryant, Pastor Jamal Bryant, and New Birth Missionary Baptist Church for opening the doors and realizing that civic engagement is so important and that you know who the people you're voting for. And finally, we appreciate all of our volunteers, attendees, and every candidate for this participating tonight. We will now close with our prayer, and she's not here I don't see her at the moment, but we want to close with prayer, and I will go ahead and do that. Father God, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for this opportunity. I ask that you bless all these candidates that are on this stage tonight. Thank you for their commitment and time for being here. Thank you for the opportunity of all the participants that came here tonight to hear, and that they make the right choice in dealing with civic engagement and making the right choice selecting the person that's going to represent the 13th Congressional District. May they have safe travels home. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Thank you all, and you have a good night.